Japan has 41 prefectural tripoints, but only one sits on flat farmland instead of a mountain or river, where Tochigi, Gunma, and Saitama meet. The point lies near Lake Yanaka in a low landscape shared by Itakura, Tochigi City, and Kazo. The other 40 prefectural tripoints occupy mountains or rivers. It sits about 400 meters east of Yajiu Station beside the former Riverland. Its older boundary followed the Watares River. After the Ashio copper mine incident, the area became swamp, then was filled with about 2 meters of soil. That altered Riverland later supported rice farming. The ground became rice paddies and a Y-shaped irrigation canal took the boundary role. A joint survey in 2016 confirmed the exact meeting point. The three municipalities and Japan's Geospatial Information Authority worked together on the survey. A brass plaque 8 centimeters marks the point today. After local governments bought the land, a public promenade opened in 2018, making Japan's unusual flat prefectural tripoint walkable. Papua New Guinea has about 11.7 million people, yet more than 800 languages are spoken within one country. It covers about 462,840 square kilometers, including the eastern half of New Guinea and hundreds of islands. Mountains dominate the mainland, while only 14% lived in urban centers in 2023. Small settlements and dispersed homes made regular contact difficult, especially across ridges, rivers, and island crossings. Historically, steep terrain kept many communities close to their own valleys and farms. Many relied on subsistence agriculture and local exchange. Goods could travel through trading chains without people moving far or forming one shared language. A neighboring village might know a nearby language while political identity remained local. English and Tok Pisin became common languages for communication across this diversity. They connect people nationally, but they did not erase the many local languages. Tok Pisin is the primary lingua franca, while English is used in commerce and education. So on the map, Papua New Guinea is one country, but everyday speech still reflects hundreds of historically distinct communities. In one of Patagonia's driest landscapes, a volcanic crater lake supplies dependable water. Nearby rocks carry paintings left by people who used its shore. Patrak Lake sits in Santa Cruz Province, Argentina, inside a dry southern Patagonian steppe where permanent open water is uncommon. The lake spans roughly 3.5 kilometers across. It is a mare, a broad volcanic crater. Its crater drops deeply below the surrounding plain and groundwater feeds the basin. That depth helps prevent Patrak Lake from emptying, keeping open water through the year. Unlike shallow ephemeral lakes nearby, it stays filled year-round. People reached Patagonia about 12,500 years ago and used resources around the lake. Nearby rock shelters preserve evidence of animal kills being dismembered, along with tools and hearths. The lake also supplied nearby raw stone for tools, linking water access with useful materials. The shore also holds rock paintings, while terraces and old shorelines record major changes in lake level. A rare water source kept drawing human use across thousands of years. Samoa grows cocoa on 2 tropical islands, yet most of that crop stays home as Cocoa Samoa instead of leaving as export beans. The export crop ends in a local drink. The trees cluster along the northwest coasts of Savi and Upolu, Samoa's 2 main islands. Tropical conditions and nitrogen-rich soil support cocoa there. Coastal locations also place the trees near Samoa's settled agricultural areas. But cultivation is done almost exclusively by subsistence farmers, not a purely export-oriented plantation system. That farming pattern keeps production tied to households and local demand. The industry also lost ground after pests, plant disease, falling prices, and Cyclone Opha damaged cocoa production. Revival efforts began in 2012, but the crop's history had already shifted its economic path. Production had peaked in the 1960s before the long decline. Much of the harvest is prepared as Cocoa Samoa, a drink commonly made by women from cocoa-growing families. So on Samoa's map, cocoa does not end at a foreign port, it ends in a regional food tradition. The drink also reaches nearby markets in New Zealand, Australia, and American Samoa. Sirinumu Dam supplies Port Moresby's only dam-based water source. It also provides more than half the capital's grid power, while nearby Koiari communities report unreliable water and electricity. The reservoir sits outside Port Moresby in Central Province, inside a mountain-surrounded basin. Built from 1958 to 1963, it flooded customary Koiari land under agreements with landowners. The Laloki River and tributaries fill Lake Sirinumu. Water is piped through hydroelectric stations at Sirinumu and Rauna before reaching Port Moresby's networks. Rauna's 4 units generate 12, 24, and 40 megawatts. The smaller Sirinumu plant adds 1. During the 1997 drought, power stations were shut down to preserve drinking water. In 2014-15, low levels reached 35% of capacity, and Port Moresby required water rationing. Disputes also caused closures in 2015, 2017, and 2019. Koiari landowners have reported unresolved compensation and infrastructure grievances since at least the 1970s. They report inconsistent potable water and electricity beside the reservoir, while Port Moresby depends on it. For nearby Koiari households, proximity to the reservoir has not ensured dependable service. A magnitude 7.7 earthquake struck Flores, yet its unusually large tsunami destroyed Kojadoi's village office, which was rebuilt across a causeway on Besar Island. The quake ruptured the Flores Thrust, an active fault in Indonesia's tectonically busy island region. This was a shallow fault movement beneath the Flores Sea, connecting ground motion to the water above. The fault lies north of the island. The tsunami reached shore within 5 minutes, leaving little time between shaking and flooding. Most observed run-ups were 3 to 4 meters, but seafloor rockfall may have amplified the waves. Flooding followed almost immediately along exposed shores. At Ryan Croco, the run-up reached 26 meters, far above the usual range. The wave traveled about 600 meters inland, showing how sharply tsunami heights varied along the coast. Researchers found evidence of submarine rockfall near the earthquake area, supporting a possible submarine landslide explanation. Seafloor movement could have added energy beyond the fault rupture. Kojadoi's destroyed office was rebuilt across the causeway on larger Besar Island. More than half of people in Papua New Guinea's highlands region use inland fisheries. They live in mountainous terrain, far from the country's productive coastlines. Here, rivers and other freshwater systems create fishing grounds where coastal fishing is not practical. The catch can become part of everyday food supply for communities far inland. These inland fisheries include river fisheries and freshwater subsistence fishing, linking food gathering to the waterways beneath the mountains. Traditional inland fishing has focused on eels taken from rivers. Introduced species are also caught, adding another source of freshwater fish in some local environments. Small-scale fishers adapt their methods to local rivers using handlines, spears, and nets. Fish may be eaten soon after capture or salted and dried for later use. Fishing often depends on local knowledge, even when gear is simple. That makes fishing part of a mountain food system, not only a coastal activity. For households far from the sea, a river can place animal protein within reach. Subsistence fishing means catching fish mainly to support household food needs. A 14-story hotel beside Christchurch's Cathedral Square has stood empty since the 2010 and 2011 earthquakes. It did not vanish. The tower remained while hotel rooms stayed unused. It occupies the corner of Worcester Boulevard, Oxford Terrace, and Cathedral Square, making the vacancy part of central Christchurch's damaged streetscape. The hotel opened as Noah's Hotel in 1975, then became Ridge's. Its location placed the empty building beside the city's central public space. Engineers described the building as structurally sound but internally damaged. Ridge's moved its operation to Latimer Square, leaving this central tower without hotel use. That assessment did not restore operations. The owners and insurers disputed coverage for this building and 2 others for 12 years. In 2019, a court decision allowed access to up to $190 million for restoration, rebuilding, and demolition. The 2 other properties were a car park and the Grand Thornton building. Repairs are now underway for Sheraton Christchurch, scheduled to reopen in mid-2027. The project is estimated to cost $150 million, returning hotel use to the tower beside the square.